Major Kira finally means it again when she says good morning. Lieutenant Jadzia Dax's task is to recite the complete chronicle of the women of the House of Martok, and Jake Sisko sells his first book. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Let's just go ahead and cut to the chase, guys. Usually I introduce the episode, but Terry Farrell is here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Okay. Now we can say, my name is Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
Melissa Longo is here. It's a
Thank you.
Nog episode. And we are doing a review of Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 7, the legendary You Are Cordially Invited, written by Ronald D. Moore and directed by David Livingston. This is November 10th, 1997. How's everybody doing?
Are we going back in time?
I kind of felt like saying, what were you doing in 1997?
Oh, this is a David Livingston episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. There were a lot of takes on that.
Really?
Yeah, David. Do you remember that?
David. Like, he was always like in his head about stuff and scratching his head and doing one of these.
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
Say a lot of times, I don't. Just do it again. Well, what do you want different, David? Let's just do it again. Let's just get one more. And it was like, oh my goodness, I know we got it.
Cirroc,
Yes.
we have got to get David Livingston on this show because we keep hearing about him.
Yeah.
And I bet you that intro that I did, he'd be like, I wasn't feeling it. Can you do it again?
Just one more. Can we just do one more?
And he'd be right.
And pull your shirt down.
Yeah.
I
read into David.
Melissa, that's a little confusing.
I know.
Right.
Yes, true.
I ran into David at the convention in Vegas, this last mission log. And he was with his wife, and it was really good to see him after all of these years. It's been so many years. But yeah, he would love to come on the show. He said he would, and love to talk to him about his directing style and some of the big episodes he directed. But this is the big episode. This is the marriage episode, which I remember a lot of fanfare and publicity about. Did you remember like doing some of those kind of TV guide covers and things like that?
Oh gosh, yeah. It was a ton of I don't remember. We didn't do a TV guide cover. We probably should have. That picture of the two of us was so great. Me and Michael.
Yeah.
I remember super hot though. I remember being super hot. We did the pictures. Michael was really pissed. Besides, most of it was about my character. So I had a lot to do. So it was fun for me. I got to do the gamut. Be drunk, be angry, trying to figure it out. I had a whole arc that I got to go through in that episode, which was really exciting for me to do. And I remember too saying that all of this stuff was happening around it. And I think it was also how much they spent on our costumes probably was the cost of an episode.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot, it was hand sewn, they're all leather. It was ridiculous.
It looks really Game of Thronesy to me. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It has that Game of Thrones vibe to it. Yeah.
It looks very regal.
Yeah.
Yes, there's that too. Yeah, very regal.
Now, Terry, you mentioned your arc, your character arc, and since you mentioned it, I did want to bring up that while I was watching this episode, I was very impressed with your acting, and I was very pleased for you as an actor that you were given basically a different mood or motivation in every single scene. Like you were saying, this scene, I'm drunk. This scene, you showed off your angry Dax in this episode in a way that I've never seen in 6 seasons. I remember going like, wow, I don't think we've seen her be fierce or combative or, fighting or whatever, but we've never seen her actually this frustrated and angry. And I want to know, when you saw the script, were you like, all right, here we go, this is my moment?
I think that, do you mean when I punched my mother-in-law?
I mean, the entire episode itself, to just be able to show off so many different facets and so many different levels of your acting skill.
Thank you. I mean, in regards to what you were saying about the anger, because when I remember about it, was feeling a real, really in tune to me, Terry, not being heard, not being seen, always sort of being patted on the head. She's a pretty girl. Oh, she'll be fine. She's not really that upset. She's being dramatic, and that too is like a womanhood thing. That is a patriarchal society. Women, girls go through. We're not supposed to be angry. We're not supposed to say what we're really thinking. We're supposed to be polite. We're supposed to just suck it up. And I think that scene with her gave me permission to say, no, I'm done with all of this, and let the anger rule over what would be the appropriate response. Right. So her anger got to her, and I got to get it out, and Terry, got to get it out.
Yeah.
It felt very real.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And it was so nuanced. Like when you're going through the houses, the line for your mother-in-law, it was so nuanced, and she was such a smart ass, and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. The little digs were so wonderfully detailed and wonderful to watch.
Thank you.
Yeah,
it was fun to watch.
I felt like watching this episode, that Dax was dealing with her own kind of racism or prejudice that she was feeling in this moment, because the mother-in-law says, point blank, you're an alien, an outsider. You can never truly be one of us. And that's something that, a lot of minorities can relate to, having that kind of sentiment placed upon them. So I really felt like you played that well, as far as, dealing with your own racism. Like, this is, and to a culture that you had embraced and knew about. And, I was
respecting. I was trying my best to respect it. So, but they weren't respecting me. I can relate to that on a personal level throughout my life. Being with people that come from a different culture than I do, it doesn't matter if we're the same color, if it's a different culture. Because if you're the outsider, you're the outsider. And if they don't embrace you and there's just you, it is not safe. It's just how we're built as beings. Well, specifically us human beings, we need community. We need to feel part of the whole. We need to be seen. We need to be recognized as valuable. Otherwise, we feel shamed and othered and excluded. And that is how the ancestors that didn't make it died, by being shunned. That's how animals died, by being shunned. It's just a natural need to belong that we all have, and when you're outnumbered, as you can understand in many situations, Cirroc, it's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible feeling to feel that aloneness. And even being a kid that was teased in school, I was very tall. I had high waters. We didn't have a lot of money, and so I was teased about that stuff too, made fun of for stuff that really isn't that important. It's funny, as an adult, you think it's unbelievable what kids do to each other. And it's all to feel safe, right? They need to feel safe. They're afraid of that kid that's othered because they don't want to be like them. It's, a lot of things we're afraid of is because we don't want to be that. And honestly, it's remarkable that Worf and Dax got together at all, when I think about the characters separately, it's sort of, how did that work? Because Jadzia did an awful lot of work to conform, and that's kind of interesting for a 350-year-old being.
Yeah, well, I don't think it would have happened if it wasn't for Jadzia, because she was this open vessel to other people and other cultures, and with that wisdom that she brought through her 300 years, I don't think anyone else could have reached Worf in the way that she did. So
nobody else did.
On traditions.
Yeah.
Because of Curzon being buddies with all those guys too. And that being her last host is probably super present for her.
I want to also highlight a scene in which you're carrying these two like heavy vats, and you have to balance them and then place them down on the thing. And of course, your stepmother is giving you all of this hell about, not placing it properly on the pedestal, and, just not doing it right. And the moment I want to just, congratulate you and just give you your flowers for the way you portrayed that scene. Really loved that scene, loved your performance in it. And the moment that I enjoyed the most was, and this is a moment I've seen on screen before, and I'll give an example in the movie Glory, when Denzel Washington is being whipped. There's a moment where he's resolute about, I'm going to take this whipping and still, be strong and hold on to my dignity. And there's a moment when Sisko does that same thing earlier on in this series, in the seasons, where he crawls back into a cage in which they put him in a cage.
Like second
and he's
season,
like, no, second season. And he's like, you know what? I'll go back in that cage, and I'm going to persevere through this. And I felt that same kind of energy in the scene that you were in, when you kind of like, you know what? I'm going to pick this thing back up, and I'll do it again, and I'm going to persevere, even though I know you're wrong, even though I know you're just trying to break me. I think those are powerful moments.
And that's the key, though, right? You're trying to break me, and you can't break me.
Right.
I believe in me, and this is a game, and I'm going to get through it.
Yeah. That means the real power. That means the real power was in your hands. Yeah. You were the one that held the power, that decided if you were going to break or if you were going to stay in control of yourself. And by the way, can we just point out you had some guns there? That's Terry Farrell, the actor, that had guns there. Yes. That wasn't Jadzia.
Yes, I noticed that too. I was like,
well done.
Yes, I would just like to thank my trainer at the time, Brian Shires, for my kickboxing and kickboxing. And actually, Armin and Kitty introduced me to him. So, I was looking for a trainer, and oh wow, thank you.
Well, he whipped you into shape on that. Yeah. And the line that you said, that just I every once in a while we go through and I'll point out the line of the episode. And,
good.
And in this episode, you had the line of the episode, which I thought was the one that stood out the most and had the most meaning behind it and was delivered the best. But it's a 3-word sentence, but it's, I don't beg.
Yeah.
And that's all you said. You're like, I don't beg. Like, I'm not begging, to be accepted by you or whatever, I just love that line. I was like, wow, I don't beg. That needs to be on a Dax t-shirt.
Yes.
She's not.
Right.
Yes.
With her guns blazing, it says, I don't beg.
Yes.
I don't beg.
Oh my
gosh. Because the truth is, I know the shame of being the other side of that. Of feeling that desperation of, please accept me. I'll do anything to be accepted. I have felt that small in my life. And that's not an easy thing to come back from. But and Dak still enriches me to this day playing that character. And recently I've been through, I don't mean COVID, as you all know, I've been through quite a lot. And in this last year, I feel like I've rebuilt myself back up again. And I haven't been doing interviews and stuff because it's been a really difficult time. This is the first one. Yeah, and part of it is I trust you guys, right? I know you know me. We've all known each other a really long time. This is not about exploiting me. And I know you won't ask me anything uncomfortable. But this has been a very important year for me. And I'm so happy that you said that because I feel like that's back in my bones.
Nice.
It's back in me. Like my true self is back in me. And it takes an enormous commitment and dedication and discipline to stay with yourself every day. I am okay and I trust myself and I love myself and I forgive myself. I have made mistakes and some of them have felt pretty deplorable, but you know what? I have to forgive myself and love myself. There are people I would forgive for the same thing. So I have to forgive myself. And this episode reminds me, Terry, of how strong I actually am because I could not play Dax if I didn't already have it in me. I wasn't pretending those things.
Yeah, it felt very real. And you know, everybody talks about, you know, my growing up and my maturing on the show, but I believe that you matured on the show as well, right?
Sure.
I saw you in the beginning of the show and watching you kind of go through the motions. And in this 6th season now, just before this marriage episode, you were literally the captain on the Defiant running the show. Sisko had to step back. You're in charge. And I was like, wow, I'm really proud of her because she's shown so much growth and development. And this season has seemed like it's been your, breakout season for like, I'm here, I've arrived. I can be in charge. I know who I am. I'm, getting married. I'm just in control of myself, and I really felt that, especially more so in this 6th season, which has been like building you up to this really high level.
Thank you. Yeah, I felt like I really deserved it. I really do. I felt like I think at the time though there was so much going on with them trying there were so many head games on the political front that that was super unfortunate. I just didn't expect that because like Ira said many times, we write for who's showing up that we feel inspired by. But that's why I was even more perplexed that that the powers that be didn't at least have some kind of solution to make me feel like I was being heard. And it's kind of like I started out being very insecure. You're right. I was overwhelmed, completely overwhelmed in the first season. And it was like acting college. Like I'd been in classes and everything, but this was, as Cirroc, like, my God, you just have to show up and be creative, whether you feel like it or not. You're going to have a good day, you're going to have a bad day, and you just have to deal with it. And best way to learn how to be an actor is to jump in and just do it and believe it, whether you're feeling good or not. It's just the way it is. And I miss being on this series. I mean, I really, Becker was also really tough because it was a completely different format. But I think all of those situations when you're on a TV series and you have a chance to make mistakes and try better the next time and forgive yourself for performances that you think, oh, that was terrible, but you get a chance the next week to follow up, you really earn self-respect for yourself as a creative person. And you're going to have good days and bad, and it's not that big of a deal.
Well, you were also surrounded by so many forces of nature, like Avery, Nana, Renee. I mean, these people that like you were playing with the big kids. I mean, I can only imagine walking into a room surrounded by these people can be, intimidating. It could be inspiring. It could be so many things. It could be very overwhelming.
Well, I would say intimidating to begin with. Because they were really overtired by the time I got hired. They didn't have a lot of patience left. I was the last person shot out in the pilot. I didn't get a chance to warm up to anybody. It was like, boom, we're shooting. And I hadn't worked for a really long time on a regular basis. So it was really super overwhelming. And Renee, bless him, we used to talk about this, but he had no patience for me in the beginning. None. And that I would come undone. It was too much. He was too overwhelming. Avery, at least I could, he was great. I remember that first time him saying old man to me, and it was so much. And I had to pull him aside. And I said, I'm just a 28-year-old woman. I'm a young woman at that. I can't one up you. I just can't. That's not who I am. And could you help me? Because I'm really nervous. And he was really kind to me after that. I think he never said as much, but he was, I think he really appreciated my honesty and just saying how I was feeling honestly. And from that point on, it was like we had this kind of quiet understanding, I mean, he still would push me, as you know, right, Cirroc? He would still toe to toe it, you're going to show up for this. I expect more from you, which was great. It's like all your best teachers are the ones that you go, I can't. And they go, yes, you can.
You will.
Yeah.
And he would say that without even saying it. He would just look at you and be like, oh, sorry.
That's okay.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Right? Okay, I'm doing this. And there's scenes where we had arguments, our characters did, and I love them. Love them.
Yeah.
Right?
Acting college. Yeah, acting college is the best way to put it. It is like a university level. It's graduate school for acting. It's, when you step on the set, you got all these people and they know what they're doing so well. I watched Avery do a one-man show of Paul Robeson.
Me too.
And just for everybody out there, a one-man show. That means you have to know the entire script. You have to keep the audience entertained for an hour and a half.
No. And it's just one man and a dozen women, right? That sounds exhausting.
That's my one man show, not Avery.
Oh, right.
One person. Okay.
No,
you have not changed.
But I say that because I want to say I'm highlighting the degree of difficulty that these actors that we worked with are capable of. The degree of difficulty is off the charts when you're able to do a one-man show and you're able to go through a whole script with the dialogue and it all by yourself. Shakespeare and all of this stuff. This is all high-level acting, and everybody that we worked with, the Armand, the Renee's, Avery, they, that's what they do. So, the expectations there for somebody like me who was just coming in there. I'm looking like, okay, but you better hit your mark. You better have your lines right. You better know, ready for the camera, all of those things. So it is a lot and it is overwhelming, but, we all of us collectively figured it out and had that kind of synergy. And I thought that your growth is so amazing on this show. And it kind of culminates almost into this episode where it's like, oh, let's celebrate who she is. And we get to see so many different versions of who you are as far as, accepting, persevering, not backing down, but then softening up when the moment kind of comes. And I love that about how dynamic your performance is.
Thank you. That means a lot. That means so much to me. I love you for seeing me.
Wait, it's what you did.
And you were there. And you were there.
I was there.
But you know what part of it too is, I think when I think about it too, not, of course, it was still a lot of dialogue, but it wasn't a technobabble episode.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I got to really be in the drama, which is more connected to real life without the language getting in the way. Where I think that a lot of the times with technobabble, for me, especially being the science officer, it's so stifling to be stopped when it's not perfect. So it's like when you stop, instead of just, okay, it's not perfect, but let her just get through the freaking monologue so that there isn't this cutting me off because I said one word wrong, and not letting there be a flow to it. It's like you could get the monologue out, even if you got a couple words wrong or mispronounced an alien name, you would still have the flow better. And then you could go, oh, right, that's how I say the alien name. Instead of now you've interrupted my flow. So now I'm so hyper-focused on the first 3 sentences and that one alien name I got wrong. Now when the second half comes up, it's like, oh, shoot, now it's brand new again because I was so hyper-focused these last 10 takes over the stupid name of the alien I couldn't get right. So there's a really weird dynamic of the dialogue having to be absolutely perfect. And I think really what would have helped all of us without question, is if we would have had a dialect coach on set just to run lines with us. That being their job for everybody, that's it. To go to each trailer and run lines, because that's what we did on Becker. If we had a lot to say, our script supervisor, but being on a sitcom, it was a different timing, right? She would take the time. If you said, would you come run lines with me? She could, but on Deep Space, there were too many people and the timing was too important with the filming. We didn't have breaks where on a half hour, you're filming 1 day a week. So you have time to have somebody run lines with you, right? But that would be a really important, smart thing, I think, for production to do, is to have just somebody to run lines.
Yeah, and it would show because they wouldn't have everybody pronouncing these planets and these aliens differently. We notice them scene to scene. But the actors don't know because they're not in that other scene. They're just saying their line here and someone else is saying it 3 episodes later in a different scene and they're pronouncing it differently. That's a great idea. We do have to take a super quick break. Man, this is good stuff. Terry, you're just the best. Thanks so much for joining us. We're going to come right back on the 7th rule.